My fellow delegates, saints of God, welcome to the Ministerial Report. This report will cover the years 2011 to 2014, and the work of leadership in this area was shared with Dr. Michael Toot and myself as we sought to bring focus and inspiration to the hearts and lives of the pastors of this conference. Pastors are especially set aside as gospel workers within the church, thus placing them in the highest calling on earth. To whom much is given, much is required. This calling requires full-time gospel workers to commit to the work of preaching the gospel ministry solely as demonstrated by Christ himself, who invited the disciples to drop their nets and come follow me. When Christ called the 12 disciples, he required of them to be separated from the temporal duties to devote full time to the preaching of the gospel. Notwithstanding the scores of other duties and the responsibilities of the pastor, great care and focus has to at all times be given to the pastor's own spiritual life, as one cannot give what one does not have. Having regard to this reality, the ministerial department sought to bring events and activities to bear upon the personal and spiritual development of the pastor. Also embedded in the responsibilities of the department is the nurturing of the pastoral family as well as the ongoing development of the elders within the local church. Join me now as we review many of these activities as we sought to bring development to the lives of our pastors.
Under the theme Revival and Reformation, pastors and lay members were all challenged to do greater exploits for God. It is evident that when we compare this period over the last period, God has blessed us beyond the previous 4 years with a 7% increase in total baptisms. To God be the glory. South Bahamas Conference of Seventh-day Adventists continues to lead in soul winning, realizing some 3,000 souls for the period of this report. Valiant efforts from the pastors in New Providence and the Family of Islands contributed to the yearly success. Commendations must also be extended to our Haitian brethren who were diligent in sharing their faith and influenced many in their community to accept Jesus. First quarter evangelistic campaigns were conducted annually, January to March from 2011 to 2014. Much needed resources were provided for these quarterly programs. In 2011, 3 of our pastors gave the gospel trumpet a certain sound: Wilson Easnor in the east, Anson Albury in central New Providence, and Ainsworth Sewell in west New Providence. These campaigns resulted in some 350 souls being baptized. In March 2012, Pastor Peter Joseph was requested to lead out in an Eastern Region Circuit of Churches campaign coordinated by Pastor Leonardo Ramming. In May 2013, Pastor Paul Scavella launched out in a Western Region Circuit of Churches campaign under the tent on Gladstone Road, where 99 precious souls were baptized. However, looming large in our minds was the Cheyenne O'Connor campaign in 2012, where we experienced the largest baptism in any one campaign in the history of the Adventist Church in the entire Bahamas. A total of 430 persons were baptized. In South Andros Mangrove Key District, Pastor Ashadine Duncan tagged team with Elder Marva Ferguson to establish a new church in Mangrove Key. In Rollville, Exuma, Dave Williams and Larry Green tagged team with Pastor Tanis and established a church in Rollville. When Pastor Richard Henderson took up his new assignment in Eleuthera, he began planning right away and launched out in 2014, and some 17 souls were baptized. Lay evangelist Elder Norman Seymour faithfully assisted Pastor Mark Ewan in Cat Island and held 2 lay campaigns, resulted in the baptism of 5 precious souls. Pastor Sir brought a new taste to the circuit with the annual Great Preachers of the Faith Weekend, which God blessed with success. This term, we experienced an outflow and intake of ministerial workers. Leaving the conference were Pastors Andrew Burrows, Wilson Isno, Fitzgerald Francois, Ainsworth Sewell, and Anastasia Ferguson Banzi. We welcomed Richard Henderson, Manasseh Sims, Alvarico Moss, and school chaplain Natalie Roberts. Over the past 4 years, support has been given to the following: Master's degree, Valentino Campbell; ongoing, Terry Tanis, Larry Green, Nikita Thompson, Leonardo Ramming, Edward Sinclair; doctoral level. Kent Price, Pastor A. Scavella. On Sabbath, June 22, 2014, 7 pastors were ordained to the gospel ministry in the single largest ordination service in the history of the Adventist Church in the Bahamas. The union president, Dr. Leonard Johnson, delivered the charge. Annual Elders Training and Certification programs were conducted. Pastor M.D. Toot in 2011 led the charge in the training and certification programs. It continues to the present by Pastor Paul Scavella. Over 100 elders participated in the training and certification initiatives. As a result, our churches have been better equipped with the local leaders. Areas covered included preaching, leadership, spirit of prophecy, pulpit etiquette, hermeneutics, visitation, conventional and clinical visitation, to name a few. A number of our lay members took up the challenge to get on the evangelism playfield and launched out into the deep. Dave Williams over in Rollville, Mara Farquharson in Mangrove Key, Lieutenant Gardner moved his entire family by faith to Mangrove Key. A team of ladies led by our women's ministry leader began work in Mayaguana, Dr. Alvira Higgs in Central Andros, and Ivan Roll in Exuma. We salute our retired pastors and their wives. The list include Pastor S.N. and Ruth McKinney, Hugh A. and Olga Roach, N.E. and Al Wayne Scavella, R.I. and Madeleine Hanna, Jeremiah and Joan Duncombe, John and Shazara Carey. We continue to remember sisters Lydia Brown, Tula Moore, and Olga Cargill on the passing of their respective husbands. Ministers' meetings were held bi-weekly, allowing pastors as leaders to gather around a set agenda with opportunity to explore relevant issues, challenges, and possible solutions to ministry. From all accounts, these meetings proved beneficial. For the period under review, scores of elders were recommended and vetted by their local churches for ordination. Upon review of the information regarding the candidates, the Ministerial Department welcomed the recommendations. In the area of chaplaincy, we have seen the highest number of our pastors graduate from the Hospital Chaplaincy Certified course, and others are presently completing the coursework. Ministerial symposiums were held annually and included presentations from our Union Director, Pastor Johnson, local pastors, and special guests from abroad. Additionally, the elders agreed to meet once per quarter to facilitate the Elder Certification Program updates. These events at times accorded us the privilege to host prayer breakfasts as well as times of refreshing. Pastors' Evaluation. The evaluation of pastors was facilitated each year between September and December, with the exception of this year. This exercise gave the administration as well as the pastors objective insights as to their strengths and weaknesses. This exercise has proven meaningful to ministry on a whole. To be commended for her efforts as Shepherd's Coordinator is Sister Joan Scavella. Nurturing activities for the pastoral families, such as the formation of a Preacher's Kid Club, were organized. The active wives visited retirees and their spouses with words of cheer and encouragement. Also, they gave gifts as well as a Shepherd's Communion service. The coordinator hosted evenings of relaxation and fellowship annually. Pastoral families were also nurtured by attending and participating in local ministerial conclaves, the ATSCO-wide retreat, and the IAD-wide virtual pastoral week of prayer for pastoral families. Obvious challenges in the ministry accompanied the period under review, but in spite of these, God brought us through.
Let me express gratitude to my supportive and faithful wife and God-fearing children for their love and support. You cared enough to stand with me through the difficult times and the times of exceptional success. The demands of ministry today far exceed those of yesteryear, yet the power available is sufficient. Christ's sufficiency is the key to a successful ministry. The capacity to distrust self and to lean totally on the all-powerful, unchanging arms of God has kept us thus far and will be the key to our success in the future. As constant communion with His Father was the key to Christ's success, likewise is communion with Him the key to success in ministry for both elders and pastors. Thus we minister because we are called to lift up Christ and no other. There are many areas that this report, however, will not address. We thank God for the contributions made that help to make the total program a success. Pastors' support of Christian education, their support for those who are less fortunate in our congregations, the running of our churches and boards and committees. For these and much more, we say thank you. Obvious challenges in ministry accompanied the period under review. But in spite of these, God brought us through. With God's help, our endurance and faith in Jesus, captain of the old ship of Zion, we were guided by his steady hands into the harbor of safety. With patience, wisdom from on high, and calm endurance, this leg of the journey was successful. Your ministerial department kept the faith. Prayer permeated every activity. I extend, therefore, thanks to you, church members, for your prayers and support of the pastoral family and its leadership. I look forward to your continued united fervent prayer as we seek to daily surrender to his will and remain faithful to our commission and calling.